Greetings, comrades. I am Ngabuto Nicholas Mabena. It's the 26th of July 2025. We are discussing mass deportation of undocumented migrants. On the 22nd of July 2025, the Citizen newspaper published an interesting article which we are discussing. The article was written by journalist Claudia Pizzocri. I'm sure I'm pronouncing the name correctly. He says deportations are draining resources without solving immigration challenges. It's time to rethink our approach. She writes as a South African, so do not say I'm saying our approach. That's what the article says. She says the Minister Leon Striper's budget speech in the National Assembly recently was reaching energy, statistics, and the digital reform promises. Yet it was preceded by two quieter signals: a sobering portfolio committee report on budgetary pressure and a Striper's own estimate in February that the department will have to make do with what it has. Striper evoked the logic of compound interest to illustrate how smart, sustained action can yield exponential returns. However, if deportations are the investment and deterrence the return, then the department appears to be compounding inefficiencies, not public value. What we know within the SADC region is that which we have been seeing over the years. You deport a person to Eswatini. By the time the truck returns to Johannesburg, the person is also back in South Africa. Same deporting a Mozambican, a Zimbabwean, a Lesotho national. So this is why this journalist is asking whether deportation, mass deportation, is sustainable or South Africa has to rethink its policy around this question. The police commissioner of KZN, now famous General Mkwananzi, once spoke about this question as well. To say, as the police, they deport people to neighboring countries. These people keep on coming back. You deport, people come back. What is the answer? The article continues, says, in a year marked by unprecedented surge in deportation numbers, the question is not whether Home Affairs is working harder, as it clearly is. The question is whether it's working smart. Does investing in mass deportation still make budgetary and policy sense, even to those who support the politically charged, somewhat frustrated optics and the xenophobic populism of groups like Operation Dudula, ostensibly in the name of preserving scarce public resources for the South Africans? That's the question that the journalist is posing. Home Affairs allocated 897 million rands to its immigration affairs program in the 2024-2025 financial year. A significant portion of this is dedicated to enforcement, detentions, deportations, and border management. Lindela Repatriation Center alone costs 6 million rands per month. So to detain people in Lindela, it costs 6 million rands per month, or 70 million rands per year. And this is just to detain individuals prior to deportation. Then there are other costs involved when you deport. Striper reported that the department deported over 46,000 illegal immigrants, the highest number in 5 years and more in 5 years, and more than countries like France and Germany combined. So 46,000 is actually mass deportation. There is indeed mass deportation of undocumented migrants. This dramatic operational scale should give rise to serious questions about sustainability. In its official reply to the parliamentary committee, the department confirmed that deportation related expenditure for the full 2024-2025 fiscal year was reported at 73 million rands. Against this expenditure, the reality remains that the estimated number of undocumented or fraudulently documented foreigners is not just highly vague, but often miscalculated and politically weaponized. Estimates range from a conservative 1 million to high estimates of over 3 million and the inflated figures up to 6 million. So there's still a debate on how many undocumented migrants are in South Africa. I know that officials have been finding difficult to respond to this question because you are dealing with people that were not recorded when they came in. Possibly the only record that they might have in the department is if someone uh, comes through a visitor's visa, they don't return to their countries of origin. Those are the people that you can say that so many people came into South Africa, but so many people returned, meaning that others remained in South Africa. But those that would not have used the official routes to enter South Africa would not be accounted for. Whichever figure one accepts, deporting 69,000 people per year means addressing only a fraction of that population annually. This risks remaining an endless loop of ineffective reactive policy that burns public funds without shifting the underlying dynamic. What if we were to imagine a different approach, one grounded not in fear and reaction, but in revenue, data integrity, and a constitutional accountability? Uh, what if we dare to imagine a 2-year amnesty program, undocumented migrants or those holding fraudulent documents coming forward voluntarily to undergo background and biometric checks, and for a temporally determined period of time to be granted an exemption against the payment of a nominal fee, for instance, a processing fee of 1,500 rands per person. You remember last year, when as the African Diaspora Forum made a similar proposal, but we were focusing on domestic workers. We were arguing that domestic workers are employed by the South African middle class, both black and white. And most of these workers live at the workplace. They have challenges um, because they get exploited, they work long hours, they are paid little, but they are playing a critical role. And they were saying, why not give them an amnesty, document them, give them special permits? I remember we did interviews, 4 radio stations interviewed us on the proposal that we're making. And of course, we came under fire from many in this platform. The videos are there that we recorded, and we came under fire from a number of people that follow this platform. But this is what this journalist is now proposing. She is actually proposing not only domestic workers. She is now proposing that instead of deporting every year, mass deportation, how far will you go with these deportations? And then he says that why not consider a 2-year amnesty program where undocumented migrants or those holding fraudulent documents coming forward voluntarily to undergo background and biometric checks and for a temporal determined period of time to be granted an exemption against the payment of a nominal fee, for instance, 1,500 rands per person. And how much is the South African government going to make if people were to pay 1,500 rands per person? The article also then speaks about the applications by the Zimbabwean exemption permit holders who are paying 1,550. I know that this proposal that the journalist is making of the Citizen newspaper will be shot down by some who will say these people are taking our jobs and so forth. Understood. But the reality of the matter, you are having these people already working in South Africa, working undocumented. Their bosses are exploiting them because these workers, migrant workers who are not documented, uh, are not given any benefits. They are paid little, they work long hours, right? Uh, so deporting them again, the question is it the answer? This mass deportation because deportation did not start under the GNU. Deportation has always been there. It has always been there under the apartheid government. Deportation was there. Post 1994, deportation has been there. This is why amnesties had to be granted as a way of also trying to manage this. So the journalist then justifies this fee proposal by saying such fee to be payable to the department over and above the service fees otherwise applicable if the program were to be administered via VFS Global, as was done with the Zimbabwe exemption payment process, plus a biometric fee. Because as I've said that ZTP holders are paying for the waiver 1,550 through VFS to the VFS and then 3,225, if I'm not mistaken, for a general work visa. If even half of the consciously estimated 1 million undocumented migrants applied, the department will raise 750 million rands in direct revenue. I know this is going to be shot down, but it's a proposal that the journalist is making. Full uptake could easily generate 1.5 billion rands over 2 years, more than enough to self-fund the program, build biometric records, clear long-standing backlogs, and allocate human resources more efficiently across the departments. I know we said we're going to talk about the meeting in Kempton Park of the former liberation movement, but rest assured, I might be misleading you, but I do not think that the liberation movements, which of course they come from the SADC region, are going to be confronted in that meeting with this mass migration to South Africa. People from Mozambique, because Frelimo is there, us from Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF is there. I don't think they are going to be put under pressure to say, look, comrades, we are tired with your own people in this country. The ZANU-PF government or the ZANU-PF party has already said we leave Zimbabwe on our own accord. We should be getting back to Zimbabwe, but we know what is happening in Zimbabwe. Let's continue with what the article says. The program could break even or even yield a surplus, particularly if digitized infrastructure is used. While deportations drain resources and create logistical bottlenecks, an amnesty has the potential to generate revenue, improve compliance, and restore trust. Because one of the important things that people always raise is that government should be able to account for who is in the Republic of South Africa. There's always been a question of fingerprints. If an undocumented person commits crime, murder, rape, armed robbery, and this person's fingerprints are not recorded, it becomes difficult to trace. I also now see in the comments here those that are not violent, who are opposed to this proposal by the journalist from Citizen. She says an amnesty-driven regularization effort would enable the state to capture biometric and identify data on hundreds of thousands of individuals currently operating outside the legal system. This foundational layer of information is essential to any system of immigration governance based on integrity, accountability, and national security. Second, such a program will help identify and isolate fraud syndicates through forensic vetting processes. Third, it would give the department institutional breathing room to focus on sustainable, digitized, rule-based migration governance. It would also free up public resources. And amnesty would signal a fundamental shift that immigration control in South Africa is not just about keeping people out, but about governing the presence of those already here in a rational, rule-based way. Uh, this is not a plea for porous borders. It is a call for budgetary logic and long-term strategy. Deportation has its place, especially where criminality or risk is involved. But when used as a blanket policy response to a decades-old systematic failure, it becomes expensive and futile. I've already said that there are those that are opposed to this proposal, but the journalist is making this proposal because she feels that mass deportation is not working. Claudia Pizoric, under the headline, Why Mass Deportation is Failing SA's Immigration System. Comrade Nyarai Ncube, you deleted your comment. Uh, Comrade Nyashongwe's sounds, it's like sweeping dry leaves in the blowing wind. Yeah, what a comment. Okay. Comrade Rhoda Maloka says, approach is to be in their countries and fight for their rights instead of fighting for their rights in foreign countries. They are shamefully good at it. The issue, Comrade Rhoda Maloka, is that these are victims of economic mismanagement in their own countries. The people that should take responsibility are their governments. We are also dealing with the governments who do not want to adhere to SADC principles on holding free and fair elections. You can start, for instance, in the case of Zimbabwe, the SADC report of the 2023 elections in Zimbabwe. Nothing has been implemented to ensure that you have an outcome which is not disputed in 2028. But again, 2028, ZANU-PF is already trying to amend the Electoral Act, move elections to 2030. This is why I'm saying in this meeting of former liberation movements, which is happening in Kempton Park in Johannesburg, ZANU-PF is not being taken to task by the ANC to say, comrades, while we fought together, of course, we have our own views that ZANU-PF was not an ally of the ANC, but we'll discuss this some other time. One would expect that the ANC in this meeting will say, comrades, we are under pressure from our own branches. Not about, let's not talk about general South Africans, but because I know the branches of the ANC, they are very, very vocal branches of the ANC on the question of migration, right? Undocumented migrants in South Africa. I've had discussions, comrades in COSATO, they are also raising these issues. even comrades in the SACP, they are raising these issues because they go to communities and they get this. So the ANC, one would expect that it will put this family in ZANU-PF to say, comrades, we are tired. Can you resolve your issues in Zimbabwe? Create conditions for your people who are in Zimbabwe not to come to South Africa, and for those that are in South Africa to go back to Zimbabwe. But of course, this is not going to happen. But that is the approach, because the issue of sanctions is something which it should not be brought as part of the reason why our economy finds itself in. Comrade Rose Nyatinya, uyangithuka well, whether uthuka mina or the journalist, well, that's life. Comrade Rhoda Maloga, I was saying, exploitation is a choice because they can go to other countries like Botswana. As their president says, they can relocate to them. There are quite a number of Zimbabweans in Botswana. There are quite a number, not only in Botswana, in Zambia, in Mozambique. We are all over. We are all over. We are not proud of being all over. We are victims of our government in Zimbabwe. And we hope we will be able to resolve the crisis. This is why we always say in this channel that we do not expect South Africans or anyone to resolve our own problems in Zimbabwe. No, we should ourselves as Zimbabweans. This is why, if you follow us, we talk more about elections in Zimbabwe. We are making a call to say every Zimbabwean must register to vote because it is the first step in trying to find a solution to our problems. Comrade Rose, there will be no more exemption in this country, never. That's none of our business. You are not our 10th province. We are a banana republic. Then you insult me. There's a video that I did, Rose. I was actually in my village. I think I did it 2 years back. You can check that. I posed this question: what would be wrong for Zimbabwe to become 10th province of South Africa? What would be wrong? For instance, myself, my brothers are South Africans. I'm a Mapena. My brothers are South Africans. So what I will not have problems with the Zimbabwe becoming a 10th province of South Africa. I know you're opposed to that, but it's something that we also raised. Like I'm saying, I did a video. We spoke about the reunion agenda, which we'll revisit some other time. Otherwise, comrades, same victims, Comrade Rhoda Maloa says, same victims are very rude in South Africa, saying we are less and uneducated. We condemn such individuals. Comrade Rose Maloga, trust me on this one. We condemn such. Because I can't come to South Africa and begin to say South Africans are less uneducated. In fact, it is a myth to say that Zimbabweans are the most educated in Africa. That is not true. It's a myth created by the political elite in Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, most of us bought into that. It's a myth. So it is wrong. We are visitors in South Africa. You are our host. We must respect you. You have accommodated us. We live together peacefully. I was saying on Facebook yesterday that a party like Patriotic Alliance, Gaton Mackenzie, for instance, who's known for his slogan, Abahambe, he did not win elections because of his anti-migrant sentiments or rhetoric. He benefited from the colored vote. If you study the elections, South African elections 2024, and the way Patriotic Alliance was getting its votes, which got Mackenzie to be in parliament, that one seat, which also got him into government, is the colored vote. It is not a vote from South Africans who are anti-migrants. And one comrade, as we were having this discussion, was saying South Africans do not vote, do not take their protest about migrants to the ballot box. He says they take their protest to the streets, not to the election. So when this comrade raised this question, this issue, I had to reflect. I said, but the comrade might be okay because we have seen demonstrations, people saying abahambe. We've been seeing people blocking clinics, hospitals, and so forth. That does not translate into votes. So there's no party in South Africa that can claim to say it won because of its anti-immigrant sentiments. But comrades, thank you so much. Let's continue to have this discussion. We note your comments, further comments, comrade Rhoda Maloka, comrade Jokwati, Jackson Mpofu. We appreciate all of you for being part of this discussion on a Saturday. Otherwise, comrades, I'm disappointed that my team, Kaizer Chiefs, lost the Toyota Cup on penalties. But it's off season. Otherwise, comrades, goodbye. Good night.